What's up guys, Ivan Carranza here, and today we're taking a look at the Universal Audio Apollo Twin X interface. I know this is not directly a bass product, but this is my new interface and I gotta be honest, it's been game changing since I got it. I also know that a lot of you guys are planning on upgrading your interfaces or are gonna buy one for the first time, so I thought it would be worth sharing about this one. Now, the cool thing about universal audio interfaces is that there are DSP chips in here that handle plugins, which allows me to run some plugins inside the interface without taxing my computer, to apply some processing and then record that signal. That means that I can record pre-EQ'd bass tones or apply compression on the way in or run some amp simulation plugins before using my computer and then record those tones directly into my DAW. And there are a bunch of combinations on ways how you can do that. I'm going to show it to you, but let's take a look at how the interface is built, what features it has real quick. But the ability to have DSP things running here is definitely a great feature. Here in the front end we have this big knob that controls either the input gain of your signal or the output of the monitors. You switch between that. When you press the preamp switch, you switch between the two preamp channels, and then by pressing the monitor button you switch between the monitor out and the headphone out, and then you control how much is changing by rotating the knob. Here you also have a bunch of different switches that can control a bunch of stuff. You have an input or talkback mic. You can set a high pass filter and dim the signal of the monitors. You have phantom power. You can put a pad. You can put a signal in mono or switch the polarity, and you can mute the monitor outputs. For the in and outputs, we have two combo XLR and 1/4 inch cables for mic level signals and line level signals. Then two monitor outs, two line outs. You have your power supply socket, the Thunderbolt cable socket, power switch, and optical in to connect more units. On the other side, we have a high impedance input to connect your bass or guitar or instrument directly here, and a headphone out to monitor yourself or somebody else that's playing. One very interesting thing is that Universal Audio has something called the Unison plugins. And that is that when you put one of those plugins at the first slot of your DSP chain, then it changes how the whole preamp in here reacts. It changes how the instrument feels and sounds, and it reacts as if you were plugging directly to an analog unit. I'm gonna show it to you in a bit, but now I gotta hook everything up and then catch you guys in a second. Okay, so now the interface is on, nothing's plugged in the front end. I'm gonna do it in a second, but here I got an XLR, another XLR, my monitors, the Thunderbolt cable, and etc. So, as I mentioned earlier, you have this thing to change between mic and line level, for example. With this one, the preamp section, you change between both preamps, and I'm going to explain why it changes to this color in a bit. You have a high pass filter here, phantom power, pad, polarity, and you can link both channels, and you can also turn the monitors, raise the volume, or go to headphones and do the same thing. You can also mute the monitor out by using this switch. Okay guys, so now I've got my bass with me and I'm plugged in to the high impedance input here in the interface. And if you take a look at my screen, this is Universal Audio console. And this is kind of like your main hub to set up the plugins, the inputs and outputs, all the routing, etc, etc. Like I said, I'm plugged here on the high impedance symbol, or input, sorry. And if we take a look at this part right here, all the left side, we have these inputs here down below. We have analog 1, analog 2, those are my inputs, these are my outputs. And here on the top side, this is kind of like a channel strip, right? So you have the input, some inserts, auxiliary sends, then you can pan this, solo mute it, and then you have the volume to monitor yourself. Now, if we take a look at this part, it says 10 dB high C. So that is my input for the bass. And if I play right now, it's probably going to be pretty quiet. I'm not boosting that much, so I'm going to start boosting this. That's much better. Now, as you can see, this is green. And here you have this thing right there. I'm going to remove this. And you can see that it says Unison Plus. That is the slot for your Unison plugins. And like I mentioned earlier, that changes the way your interface is going to react to your playing, how it's going to process the signal. So if I open this, I don't have any plugins here, but I have some for guitar and bass, an Ampeg SVT, Sim, a Marshall Plexi, and a RAD simulation of the pedal. And here on the preamp, I have this Manley box and a U610B. So I'm gonna show you this one and the Ampeg. This one I really like when just running pretty simple, not simple, but just clean tones. And if I put this in, you're gonna see that this little wheel is gonna change to like yellow orange. And this color also changes on your interface, letting you know that you have a Unison plugin active. Now if I play, it's gonna be way quieter than before. But I can immediately feel the difference compared to the regular input. I'm gonna boost some volume here. If you take a look at this thing, we have now like +5, +10, -5, -10. It's no longer like the wheel on the other section that like here that is at 30 dB and I can just move this around. If I turn it on, it only moves in those increments, +5, +10, etc. So let me boost this to +10 just to get some more volume going on. Here we have some EQ options. You can boost the low end at either 100, 70, or 200 by these increments. And even though they're 1.5, 3, sound like small numbers, they have a big impact on your tone. And the same applies for the top end. You can boost 4.5, 10K, and 7K. So I'm gonna touch that in a bit. You can change the signal here to line level, for example, put a pad, flip the polarity, and this enables you to control the volume going out as well as this here. So I'm gonna try to get both the normal version and the Unison version with the same volume. Like I said, it feels immediately different than when I have it off. So now let's boost some bass here, like 1.5 compared to let's go higher. Now you also get more volume, of course, so you gotta compensate for that. But you get a richness on the bottom end that's not like muddy, it just feels very pillowy. And I can go just crazy on this. Let's just test. Part 2. And all this is happening in real time on my interface. That's a really cool feature. The cool thing as well is that you can either only monitor yourself with the plugins, or you can print that signal into your DAW. And I'm going to touch that in a bit, but just to let you know that it's possible to have both options. So let's just back this up and let's just boost some top end now. I need some more volume here. Then some top end. On. Definitely very clear difference. Put it at 0. Get some more sparkle up top, right? Now let's check out the SVT one. So let's turn it off again. Turn it on. Now it's really dark right now, but we can open up the effects track, which opens this part here. And we have a couple of cabinet options. We have this 8x10 and also this 4x10 plus 115. That's my favorite one. Got some bit more mid-range. And here we can control the input gain of the amp, which we can push it to get some more saturation, some drive. And we can also, like, because we're boosting a lot of input, we can tame that power here. But we have, like, on a typical Ampeg, we have the normal input and the bright input, and that is controlled. If you change, for example, the gain knob here, it changes between those inputs. You can't change the level on that. You have to do it with this and the volume control. We have the ultra high, ultra low switch, volume, treble, bass, and that's it. But let's turn on the ultra high. Still kind of quiet compared to, right? So we can push some volume here. But it's kind of dark right now, so we can turn this off. Turn this off. And I haven't even touched the EQ section here, or input gain, or the bright switch. That's in the normal channel. And it sounds very different, right? Than the original signal. So now let's go to bright channel. This sounds a bit closer to the original DI signal. And you know, that's all happening on the interface. That is really, really cool. And like I mentioned earlier, you have this insert section. And this, you know, here you can put a lot more plugins. You have all these sections here. A lot of them come like free with the interface, but you can buy a lot more. And here's, for example, where you would put your compressor. So let's do that. We can go to dynamics, and then there's, for example, this Universal Audio 1176 and this Telectronics LA2A. So we're gonna open this. This is a really cool compressor. You see I'm compressing a lot right now. Now let's open up the presets here. Let's see what we have. Gentle bass comp. Let's go to this. I'm compressing way too much. So let's lower the input. 3 dB is a good area, but I'm quieter, so I'm gonna bump my output. Turn this off. Turn it on. A bit more even. If you want to get by the ear, you can just turn the attack. Turn this off. Changes the character of the bass like that, right? So it's a very fast compressor. You can record like this as if you had the original analog unit because it's already in your signal path. It's pretty cool. Now let's open up the other one, the Teletronics LA2A. And here you can also only set gain and peak reduction. This one is a little warmer, like that's really smooth, makes everything nice, thick and pillowy. So let's turn this off. Turn it on. More gain reduction. You can hear that I'm really squashing now. It's -5, so let's put some volume. Go that hard, I probably would go like this. And also, of course, lower some output. Like I mentioned earlier, or where you hear my voice right now, it's also running through some processing. It's like the 610B for my voice, and I'm running also an 1176 here. If I speak very loudly, you can see it peaking. You can see it moving there. So it's compressing, giving me some volume so you can hear my voice better. And a cool way to record, for example, a clean and then an affected signal is to use the sends here. I got it all muted right now. But what you can do with this is, for example, send a copy of your exact same signal to one of these auxiliary inputs or auxiliary tracks. So let me remove this SVT track. I'm gonna copy it. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it here. So now I've got my clean track, which doesn't have anything, and then also this SVT track. So I'm gonna put, just to give it some more tube warmth, I'm gonna put this on the normal track. There's no EQ happening here, and I have this amp track here. I can go to Logic, and I have one track here, which is input 1. I'm gonna name this clean bass. I'm gonna new track, and this is automatically set to the same input. So I'm gonna grab this and go to aux in 1, and now this is the amp track, and this is a DI or clean signal. And I'm recording pretty hot right now for the video because I'm recording my screen and whatnot. I probably would record a lot quieter, but this gives us the ability to record 2 tracks with 1 input and then decide later in the mix which one I like better. And I can always put the plugins here on the clean track later if this signal didn't work. So I'm gonna record. Okay, now if I listen to just the clean track, SVT, so they sound very different. Now let's listen to the drums. And for example, by using a DI box and a mic with a cabinet, I could record those two signals, you know, the bass into the DI and then the bass into an amp with a cabinet, going to two inputs of the interface. And that would give me 4 signals if I use the auxiliary tracks. And that opens so many opportunities while, you know, mixing and recording, because you can pick up different flavors of tone and then always have a backup plan in case the tones you dial in don't end up sounding like you expected in the mix. And like I said earlier, you get some free plugins with the interface, and you also can buy more on the Universal Audio website. There's more amps. There's an Ampeg B15 and amp SVT, I think 7 Pro. There's a Gallien-Kruger amp sim. There are more compressors, more channel strips, more EQs. So there's a lot of stuff there that you can use, and also different Ampegs, SVT versions. So you have a lot of flexibility and options available just by using the interface. So I hope you guys found this helpful. Let me know in the comments which interface you have or which one would you like to get. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the content that's coming to the channel. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Take care.